you for stopping me to talk. Do you want to start by introducing yourself?
Hi, I'm Sydney and I eat meat.
Sydney, okay.
I'm Ben. I eat meat, eggs, and milk.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no
I
vegan,
eat
not
eggs
vegan.
and milk
Like
too.
all-
Oh, so you vegetarian? Oh no, you eat meat. Okay.
I eat
Yeah.
meat.
Okay. So you guys brought up a couple points. We could address all those. But I guess to start, I'm going to define veganism,
Okay.
and then you tell me what you disagree
Totally
with. All right.
respect that.
So veganism is an ideology that rejects the commodity status of animals, right? So that means we don't want to use them, abuse them, or kill them for food, clothing, entertainment, etc.
Okay.
Right? And I guess to add to that, the main goal of veganism is to reduce the rights violations of other sentient animals.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
So do you think there's more clothing and food made out of animals than there is clothing and food made out of plants? Because I would make the argument that there's more clothing and food made out of plant products than there are animal products.
Sure, yeah, that could be the case.
Okay.
But plants aren't sentient. So the reason why
Are they not sentient?
they're not sentient, yeah. So the reason why we care about sentience is, or why we care about animals is because they're sentient, right? I'm specifically talking about sentient animals, not mushrooms or microorganisms. So sentience is when you could feel pain, joy, have your own conscious experience, right?
Okay,
So
but there's a lot of studies that point to the facts that plants have not traditional pain receptors in the same way that humans have, because neither do fish, because we really don't understand where pain comes from, right? But there's a lot of studies that say that plants have things like anticipation, and they can anticipate stress, and they know which events are bad and which are harmful, and they're able to talk to each other and communicate with one another. In a lot of the same levels that animals are able to. It's just easier for us to study how animals communicate with one another, and also how animals feel pain. And I think that plants are really undervalued in terms of how sentient they are.
okay, so in terms of the recent study, there actually is very little to no research pointing or where the conclusion is sentience. We are observing that plants communicate intelligently. So
Yes.
intelligent communication is not the same as sentient. You could be sentient and be incredibly unintelligent,
That's
right?
very true, I agree
So
with
sentience is not the same. So just because grass,
So how are you defining sentience?
I just did. You have your own conscious experience. You can feel pain, feel
What
joy.
is consciousness?
Yeah. So when you're aware, when you have,
So are
when
plants
there's an individual inside of you, right?
Okay, but
So-
plants can tell if there's
So I'm gonna-
something near them.
Yeah.
Plants can tell if there's a predator near them.
Sure, so I
Plants
could-
can anticipate dangerous events. Plants know when the biochemical activity of a
Especially
predator is near them.
So I could
They'll-
debunk. Yeah, I could debunk. I know. I've been vegan for almost 7 years. I know all the arguments.
hear,
So
please.
when so again, that's intelligent. What did I say? Intelligent communication.
Yeah.
That's not sentience. So for example, plants are living. Their end goal is to stay alive, right? Because they're an organism.
Yeah.
But just like bacteria, the end goal is to stay alive, right? But
But is that not humans and animals equal too, though?
I'm sorry, what?
Like, isn't everyone's end
It
goal
is,
to
but the
stay
difference is humans and animals, we can experience things separate from just stimuli and separate from just living, right? We have a conscious experience. We care for our young. We can just humans specifically have more moral agency, but there's a very strong line within science between sentience and non-sentience. Plants can communicate intelligently because they are organisms,
Yeah.
but there's no pain receptors, there's no nerves, there's no
pain
eyes,
receptors
there's
in
no
fish
brains.
either.
There are. Fish have brains, fish have nerves, yeah.
Fish have brains, but they don't have a neural cortex, and we associate pain with being centralized within the neural cortex.
So when you say, so they have a brain, so cortex is related to the brain. So they may not have exactly what humans have, but they are studying, they are deemed sentient. So we're going off the science.
We know that fish have a what's it called? Fish have a reactionary response to physical stimuli that
they can feel pain. It is. So if we're going off of
know
the
that-
science, right?
Yeah, okay.
So if you have science that shows that plants are sentient, please present it. But all of the science deems that fish, other mammals, specifically cows, chickens, and then cows, pigs, and then the chickens specifically and other birds, they are all sentient, right? The only animals that aren't sentient are things like fungi, things like microorganisms like microbacteria. So if you're claiming that plants are sentient, then you have to be claiming that microbacteria is also sentient, or mushrooms are sentient.
I probably, you might think that this opinion is crazy, but I think that most biological entities have some degree of sentience.
Okay, so even if we grant that, right, it's completely not true, but even if we grant that everything has a form of sentience, let's say, right, I'll still tell you why you should be vegan. If there is hierarchy to sentience, right?
Yeah.
Cows, chickens, pigs, all of the mammals and birds and land
If there's
animals.
hierarchy to sentience, we should probably give like rights to dolphins and shit too, right?
Absolutely, all sentient animals, right? But I'm saying
Who
even
would have won 2016 if dolphins could vote?
well, I'm saying even if you do care about plants, right? Which the next argument I would say is like there's clearly a difference between kicking a dog and kicking a tree, right?
Yeah.
So if you care about plants, we actually produce more crops specifically to feed to animal livestock. So
do.
yeah, so it's actually if we cared about all life to reduce the death of all life, we would still want to go vegan because vegan still it's more efficient to produce. We would use up less crops.
You say more efficiently produced. Can you tell me what the caloric density per acre a very high in calorie?
It's about the
plant
land. It's about the land and water usage. So if you look up any environmental
water usage
statistic,
per calorie
Yeah.
to the most calorie dense plant versus acre and water usage for protein.
so if you look up any environmental statistics,
animal.
yeah, if you look up any environmental statistics,
Yeah.
beef, poultry, pork, they are way more inefficient to produce. Way more land, way more water. Not to mention the waste. Not to mention, yeah, it's not even close. I have stats. I have a resource. Yeah, it's on my website. I'll give you a link.
I'd love to see that.
But
Yeah.
again, when it comes to practicality, right? The veganism is primarily an ethical, a moral ideology, right?
Yeah.
So, what I would ask you is, right, when we don't need to kill animals to survive, right? Because there's nothing nutritionally that we need to consume to get, right? And we could go into that, but you're arguing against consensus again. But there's nothing in animal products that's magical that we can't get from plants or fortification, right? So, granted, we don't need it. What is your justification to continue to contribute to the death of billions of animals, sentient animals?
Okay. Well, you're basing your entire argument on sentience, right?
Yeah,
And
the value of
animals being
sentience.
more sentient than plants, right?
Well, animals being sentient and plants not, yes.
Okay. So I guess your argument on sentience then boils down to a morality thing, and you're killing something that knows, oh my gosh, I'm dying, this is a horrible
It's about
experience.
rights violations. So like
So you're attributing rights to sentient.
negative rights. So the rights to not be murdered, the rights to not be abused, the rights to I'm attributing that when animals have sentience, just like
Yeah.
humans, not just but similar to humans.
So you're attributing and putting on a moral set of rules upon the competition and the realism of nature and
No, because what we do with animal agriculture is not natural. So how we produce the animals we produce,
Yeah.
we genetically modify
So
them.
are you
We artificially.
against-
Hold on, I just want to finish. We genetically modify them. We artificially breed them by the billions, and then we murder them in
Are you
factory
against
farms.
genetic modification and artificial breeding?
I am against. Well, not if it's beneficial. So, like for example, if it's not commodifying, if it's to maybe I don't know.
Because every single plant resource that we eat is genetically modified to commoditize it.
Yeah, that's fine. So
Why is that fine? You just said
So-
you didn't
'cause
like
we're not-
genetically modified organisms.
That's not what I said.
In the
I
context
said-
of commoditization.
No. I said I'm fine with it as long as it's not harmful. With plants, there's no harm to be done because they're not sentient.
What is not harmful about monocropping?
No. Monocrop is different. Whoa. Monocrop is different. Genetic modification. You're
but
switching
I bet
arguments.
that every
So
vegan product you eat is by
hold
a
on.
large company that's
Time out. Hold on a
soy
second. Hold on.
and shit like that.
Dude. We got it. So hold on. Genetic modification is separate from. I could address the monocropping, but genetic modification, there's as long as it's not harmful or being exploitative of what's
Genetic
happening.
modification has been around since farming because genetic
I'm
modification.
fine with genetic modification.
You just said
No,
that
I
you
didn't.
were not okay with genetic
If it's
modification.
harmful. No. If it's harmful. So, for example,
Okay, I think that anything that creates an economy is harmful, so I guess I agree with you in the fact that meat is a massive economy.
I mean, if you want to be anti, but I'm not. So we could discuss
we can
economic
totally
system,
deconstruct
but that's a
capitalism.
totally separate argument. What I'm talking about
But
is
everything
why.
is a victim of
Dude, you gotta
capitalism
let
and
me.
plants and
Dude,
meats aren't.
you gotta
I'm
let me
sorry.
finish. Okay.
I'm sorry.
So plants cannot be victims because they are not sentient, right? So to argue that plants that are deemed not sentient are on the same level as a mammal that gives birth, that cares for their young, that can clearly experience things and pass intelligence as sentient tests. That's not true. That's just incorrect, right? Scientifically, morally, all of that's incorrect.
I think that applying a moral rule book to the cycle of nature and how
It's not
omnivores
natural.
and
It's not a-
carnivores and these
Yeah.
things work, I don't think that there's a moral rule book there. I
So-
think everything's about competition.
Okay, but
Our
we
world
don't
is about
have so.
evolution and competizing and
Uh-huh.
having a competition with our other species to whoever's going to win, right? Everything is a competition, and I don't
So are
think
you saying that might equals right?
might does equal right.
Really? So if I'm bigger than somebody, I could take what I want from them, beat them up, do whatever I want.
In our moral, humanized world.
No,
we
no,
like
no,
to
no.
think
Hold
that
on. But
doesn't
you,
exist.
hold on. But you just said might equals right. So that means it's moral. Just because I can do something means I should, right? So just because, same thing with children. Why we protect children? Why we protect mentally disabled? Why we protect all of these vulnerable groups?
Yeah.
Because it's not moral to do something to cause harm just because we can. If that were the case, I could hurt you, you could hurt me, and it'd be moral because we can, right? So might does not equal right. I don't think you would accept that argument for any other form of oppression or injustice, right?
But that argument has been accepted for billions of years until we gained this extremely high
is-
degree of sentience.
Hold on. Yeah, of course. We used to rape, we used to enslave, we used to do so many awful things, but now we aren't. Same thing with eating animals. We used to have to eat animals because that was our sustenance. Now in the modern day, we don't. There's
We're the
no
only
need.
species to ever have the self-awareness to have this argument. So I think that we're on an entirely different degree of sentience than anything
Exactly.
else.
So why
And that
would we
nothing
then
else
abuse
deserves
animals?
The respect that we have because we have this amount of sentience.
Okay, so we could just. So are you okay with
I don't
animal
think
abuse?
Animals are over here arguing about rape and monochrome.
Wait, so are you okay with animal abuse?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm
So
not.
do you see the inconsistency? So you're saying we are special. Nobody else deserves rights like we do, right? Right to life, right to not be. But then you say you're against animal abuse. So if animals don't matter, why be against the abuse?
So I don't understand where your sentience argument comes from because I want to understand where sentience.
I would like you to answer the question.
I don't agree with animal abuse, obviously. Okay,
No,
I'm
but
sorry.
why?
Friends are asking me to leave.
Oh, you got caught. All right, man. Well, look, good
you.
conversation, but
Hey, I
if
appreciate
you
it. I
don't
actually
believe
don't
in
really disagree with anything you're saying. I like to play devil's advocate.
right, well, if you don't believe in animal abuse, definitely go vegan. Here, I'll give you a card
Right,
anyway.
I appreciate that, and I understand your message. Thank you.
Check it out, man.